The homeless twins found billionaire CEO Dad's wallet and called him to save sick Mom in the hospital. Our mama is dying. She is in the hospital and they will not help her because we do not have money. And you look like us in your picture. We do not know what else to do. The silence on the other end of that phone call lasted exactly 4 seconds. 4 seconds that felt like 4 years to two 7-year-old twins standing in the rain outside Denver General Hospital, clutching a stranger's wallet like it was the last life raft on a sinking ship. Then the voice came back. Deep, urgent, changed. What hospital? It was not a question. It was a command. And 47 minutes later, a Bentley worth more than most people's houses pulled up to the emergency room entrance, and a man in a $10,000 suit stepped out into the rain without even bothering to open an umbrella. What he found in that waiting room would shatter everything he thought he knew about his life. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back 3 days. Before the phone call, before the wallet, before a billionaire CEO discovered he had been a father for 7 years and never knew it. Let me take you back to a homeless shelter on 5th Street, where a woman named Marquita Williams was coughing up pieces of her lungs while her twin children pretended not to notice. The rain had been falling for 3 days straight when everything changed. Not the gentle kind of rain that poets write about. This was the angry kind. The kind that floods gutters and soaks through coats and makes you feel like the sky itself is trying to wash you away. Inside the 5th Street Community Shelter, 200 people crowded into a space designed for 100. The air smelled like wet clothes and despair and the kind of hope that hurts because you know it might not survive the night. Destiny and Devin Williams sat on either side of their mother, forming a wall of small bodies against a world that had given them nothing but reasons to build walls. Mama, you need to eat something. That was Destiny. 7 years old, going on 77. She had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn jaw, though she did not know that second part yet. She held out half a sandwich, the kind with mystery meat and cheese that had seen better days. Marquita tried to smile. It came out as a grimace. I am not hungry, baby. You eat it. You always say that. Devin's voice carried an edge that 7-year-olds should not have to develop. An edge that comes from watching your mother shrink a little more each day. You have not eaten since yesterday. Marquita opened her mouth to argue, but her body betrayed her. A coughing fit erupted from somewhere deep in her chest, the kind of cough that sounds wet and wrong and terrifying. She doubled over, and when she finally caught her breath, there was blood on her palm. She closed her fist before the twins could see. I am fine, she whispered. Just a cold. It will pass. But it would not pass. And somewhere in her heart, Marquita Williams knew that. She had known it for weeks, ever since the cough started and refused to stop. Ever since breathing became a negotiation with her own lungs. Ever since she started measuring her remaining time not in years or months, but in how many more mornings she could wake up and see her children's faces. She had survived so much. 8 years of single motherhood. 3 years of stable jobs followed by 5 years of everything falling apart. Lost apartments. Lost opportunities. Lost hope. But she had never lost them. Destiny and Devin. Her miracles. Her reasons. If I go, she thought, what happens to them? It was the question that kept her awake at night. The question she had no answer for. Outside the shelter, the rain continued to fall. The next morning broke gray and wet and no different from the morning before. Marquita had barely slept, her breathing too labored, her fever too high. The shelter staff had noticed. They always noticed. But shelters were not hospitals, and compassion could not cure pneumonia. She needs a doctor, one staff member whispered to another, thinking the twins could not hear. But children who grow up hungry learn to listen for every scrap of information the way they learn to listen for every scrap of food. Destiny heard. Devin heard. And they decided to do something about it. Come on, Devin said, pulling his sister toward the shelter's entrance. We need to find help. What kind of help? I do not know yet. But we cannot just sit here and watch her get worse. They stepped out into the rain, 2 small figures against an enormous city that did not care whether they lived or died. The streets were slick with water, the gutters running like rivers, carrying trash and leaves and forgotten things toward drains that could not swallow fast enough. That is when Devin saw it. A flash of brown leather, half submerged in the gutter water, caught against a storm drain grate. Something about it looked wrong. Too clean, too expensive. Too much like it did not belong in a place like this. Destiny. Wait. Look. He crouched down and pulled the object free. A wallet. But not any wallet. This was butter-soft Italian leather, the kind that cost more than their mother had made in the last 6 months combined. The kind that belonged to a different world entirely. We should return it, Destiny said immediately. That is stealing if we keep it. I know. Devon opened the wallet, his small fingers trembling from cold and something else. Something that felt like the edge of a cliff he was about to step off. Inside, they found $700 in crisp bills, 3 platinum credit cards, a business card that read Jalen Montgomery, CEO, Montgomery Enterprises, and a photograph. Devon pulled out the photograph and held it up to the gray morning light. A man stared back at them. Dark eyes, strong jaw, the kind of face that commanded attention without trying, the kind of face that looked exactly like theirs. Destiny, Devon breathed. He looks like us. He looks like Mama's old pictures, Destiny added, her voice dropping to a whisper. From before, they both knew about the pictures, the old photo album their mother kept hidden at the bottom of her worn backpack, the one she thought they did not know about, the one she cried over sometimes late at night when she thought they were asleep, pictures of a young woman laughing with a handsome man, at parties, at graduation, at what looked like the beginning of a forever that never came. Do you think, Devon started. I do not know, Destiny finished, but we need to find out. They took the wallet, not to steal it, not to keep the $700, though that money could have fed them for weeks. They took it because something in that photograph called to something in their blood, and because their mother was dying, and they had nothing left to lose. Now, before I tell you what happened when those twins dialed the number on that business card, I need to pause and speak directly to you. If you have ever been the child who had to grow up too fast, this story is for you. If you have ever loved someone so much that you would call a stranger and beg them to help, this story is for you. If you have ever wondered whether the universe puts certain things in our path for a reason, whether a lost wallet in a flooded gutter could actually be the hand of fate reaching out, this story is for you. I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Not for me. For Destiny and Devon. For every child out there who is carrying burdens they should not have to carry. For every parent fighting to survive one more day. And subscribe to Mr. Dalton's Story House, because what happens next in this story, I promise you, is going to change everything you think you know about second chances. Now let me tell you about that phone call. They found a payphone outside Denver General Hospital, one of the last functioning ones in the city, its metal body covered in graffiti and rain, its coin slot sticky with something they did not want to identify. Marquita had collapsed 2 hours earlier. The ambulance had come. The shelter staff had done what they could, but now she was somewhere inside that enormous building, hooked to machines that beeped and whirred, and her children were standing in the rain with a stranger's wallet and no idea what to do next. The doctors said they needed to run tests, Devon explained, his voice flat with the kind of calm that comes from shock. But tests cost money, and we do not have money, Destiny finished. They looked at each other. They looked at the wallet. They looked at the business card with the phone number printed in elegant script. What if he does not answer? Destiny asked. What if he does? Devon replied. They pooled the quarters they had collected from sidewalk cracks over the past month. 67 cents in small coins. Enough for one phone call. Destiny dialed. Devon pressed close to hear. It rang once, twice, 3 times, 4. Then a voice answered, deep, authoritative. The voice of a man who was used to commanding rooms and controlling outcomes. Jalen Montgomery. Destiny's throat closed. For a moment, she could not speak. 7 years old, and she was supposed to convince a billionaire to care about a woman he had never mentioned, and children he did not know existed. Devon took the phone. We found your wallet, he said. In the rain, outside the shelter on 5th Street. There was a pause. The sound of expensive fabric shifting against leather seats. The background noise of a busy office fading as the man moved somewhere quieter. I did not realize I had lost it. Thank you for calling. Where can I send someone to retrieve it? We cannot give it to someone else. Devon gripped the phone harder. We need to give it to you directly, because we need to show you something. Something important. Son, I am in the middle of a very important meeting. Our mama is dying. The words came out before Devon could stop them. Raw and honest, and carrying 8 years of questions he did not even know he had been carrying. She is in the hospital, and they will not help her because we do not have money, and you look like us in your picture, and we do not know what else to do. The silence that followed was so complete that the twins wondered if the line had disconnected. Rain fell around them. Somewhere in the hospital behind them, their mother was fighting for every breath. Then the voice came back, different now, stripped of its corporate polish. Human. What hospital? Denver General. I am on my way. Do not move. Do not go anywhere. I am coming. The line went dead. Destiny looked at Devon. Devon looked at Destiny. Do you think he is really coming? She asked. I do not know, Devon admitted. But he did not ask about the money. He did not ask about the wallet. He asked about Mama. Maybe that meant something. Maybe it meant everything. They huddled under the payphone's small overhang and waited. 47 minutes later, a Bentley pulled up to Denver General's emergency entrance. Jalen Montgomery had canceled a merger meeting worth $12 million. He had hung up on 3 board members. He had broken approximately 9 traffic laws during the drive from his downtown office. His assistant had tried to protest. Sir, this is obviously a scam. Random children calling with wild claims. You cannot possibly. But Jalen had not listened. Because something in that child's voice, the desperation, the honesty, the way he had said you look like us, had reached past every defense Jalen had spent a decade building and grabbed hold of something primal. He had to know. The hospital's automatic doors slid open, and Jalen stepped into the fluorescent lighting of the emergency waiting room. Immediately, he scanned the crowd. Elderly patients, worried families, nurses moving with efficient urgency. And then he saw them. 2 small figures huddled together on plastic chairs near the back wall. Their clothes were worn thin and patched with amateur stitching. Their hair was neatly braided despite their circumstances. And their eyes. Dear God, those eyes. They were his eyes, looking back at him from 2 tiny faces that carried the unmistakable architecture of his own features. His grandmother's chin, his father's forehead, his own intense gaze that business rivals had called the Montgomery stare. The girl saw him first. She grabbed her brother's arm and pointed. He came, she whispered. Devon, he actually came. Jalen crossed the waiting room in what felt like slow motion. Every step brought him closer to a truth he was not prepared to face. Every step rewrote the history he thought he knew. He crouched down to their level, his designer suit pants pressing against the grimy hospital floor without a second thought. You found my wallet, he said. It was not what he wanted to say. It was just the only words he could manage. The boy, Devon, held it out to him. But he did not let go. Are you our dad? The question hung in the air. Direct, unflinching, the kind of question only children ask because they have not yet learned to be afraid of answers. Jalen's voice failed him. He looked at their faces, searching for any other explanation, but there was none. The resemblance was undeniable. These children were his. Take me to your mother, he finally managed. Please, I need to see her. She is very sick, Destiny warned. The doctors say she might. Her voice broke. She could not finish the sentence. Then we need to move fast, Jalen said. He stood up and took one small hand in each of his own. They felt fragile and cold and impossibly precious. Which way? The twins led him through corridors that smelled like antiseptic and fear, past nurses who did not look twice at them, past other families locked in their own private tragedies. Finally, they stopped outside a room with a sliding glass door. Inside, a woman lay hooked to machines that beeped and whirred with mechanical indifference to her suffering. Jalen's heart stopped. Marquita. She looked like a ghost of herself. The vibrant, fiery woman he had loved with every fiber of his young, idealistic heart had been reduced to this. Pale skin stretched over prominent bones. Lips cracked and colorless. Hands so thin they looked translucent. But she was still beautiful. Somehow impossibly. She was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. Her eyes fluttered open at the sound. And when she saw him, when she saw the face of the man she had run from 8 years ago standing in her hospital room with their children at his side, every machine in the room started screaming at once. Nurses flooded the room within seconds. Monitors flashed red warnings. Someone shouted for a crash cart. And through it all, Marquita's eyes never left Jalen's face, her expression cycling through shock and fear and something that looked almost like grief. You cannot be here, she managed between gasps. You cannot. Ma'am, you need to calm down. A nurse stepped between them, checking IV lines and adjusting oxygen levels. Your heart rate is dangerously elevated. Get him out, Marquita wheezed. Please, get him out. Jalen stepped back, his chest tight with a pain he did not understand. The twins pressed against his legs, confused and frightened by their mother's reaction. Mama, Devin said. He came to help. We called him. Marquita's eyes found her children, and something in her face crumbled. Oh, babies. What did you do? We found his wallet, Destiny explained, her voice trembling. There was a picture. He looked like us, like your old pictures. The room went quiet except for the beeping machines. The nurses exchanged glances, sensing a story far beyond their pay grade. Jalen cleared his throat. Can we have a moment? Please. I will make sure she stays calm. The head nurse hesitated, looking between the billionaire in the expensive suit and the dying woman in the hospital bed. Something about the tension between them spoke of history, of things left unsaid for too long. 5 minutes, she finally agreed. But if those monitors spike again, you are out. The nurses filed out. The door slid closed, and for the first time in 8 years, Jalen Montgomery and Marquita Williams were alone together. Sort of. You should go, Marquita said, her voice weak but firm. This does not concern you, does not concern me. Jalen's voice cracked on the words. Marquita, I just discovered I have children. 7-year-old twins I never knew existed. How does that not concern me? Because they are my children. I raised them. I fed them. I kept them alive when we had nothing. You do not get to walk in after 7 years and claim them. I'm not trying to claim anyone. I'm trying to understand. Jalen ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Marquita remembered from countless late-night study sessions and early morning confessions. Why did you leave? Why did you disappear without a word? Why did you keep my children from me? Marquita turned her face away. The effort of speaking was draining what little strength she had left. I heard you, she whispered. That night at the gala. I heard everything. Jalen went still. What gala? What are you talking about? The Montgomery Foundation charity event. 8 years ago, 3 days before I left. Marquita's voice carried the weight of years of rehearsed bitterness. You were talking to your mother in the garden. She was asking about Celeste Harper. Jalen's blood went cold. Celeste Harper. The name he had not thought about in years. The woman his mother had desperately wanted him to marry for her family connections and social standing. Marquita, whatever you heard. I heard you say yes. Tears were streaming down Marquita's hollow cheeks now. I heard you tell your mother that you understood your duty to the family name, that you would consider marrying Celeste, that you knew what was expected of you. That is not what happened. I heard you, Jalen. Do not stand there and tell me I did not hear what I heard. I was pregnant. I had just found out that morning, and I went to that gala planning to tell you, planning to believe that we could build a life together despite what your family thought of me. And then I heard you choosing her. Jalen sank into the chair beside her bed, his legs no longer able to support the weight of this revelation. You were pregnant, he said slowly. When you left, you were carrying my children, our children, and I was not going to raise them in a world where their father was married to someone else. I was not going to be your secret, your mistake, your scholarship girlfriend you kept hidden while you played the perfect Montgomery heir in public. So you ran. I survived, Marquita corrected. I left New York. I started over. I built a life without your money, without your name, without your family looking at me like I was something they needed to scrape off their shoes. You built a life in homeless shelters. Jalen's voice was raw. You built a life watching our children go hungry. You built a life dying in a hospital bed because you cannot afford treatment. I built a life where they knew they were loved, Marquita shot back, where they knew their worth did not depend on what family they came from or how much money was in their bank account. I built a life where they learned that survival matters more than status. At what cost? Jalen leaned forward, his eyes burning. Marquita, you are dying. Do you understand that? You are dying, and our children are about to become orphans, and all because you misheard a conversation 8 years ago. Misheard? I never married Celeste Harper. Jalen's voice broke on the words. I never even considered it. That night at the gala, my mother was doing what she always does. Manipulating, maneuvering, asking leading questions designed to get the answers she wanted. She asked if I understood my duty. I said yes, because I did understand it. I just was not planning to follow it. She asked if I would consider marrying Celeste. I said I would consider it, meaning I would think about it and reject it, because I had already made my choice. Marquita's heart monitor beeped faster. What choice? You. Jalen reached for her hand, his fingers trembling. I chose you, Marquita. I was going to tell my mother the next morning that I was done playing her games, that I was going to marry you whether she approved or not, that the Montgomery name could survive the scandal of me loving someone who actually deserved to be loved. But you were gone. I woke up and your apartment was empty. Your phone was disconnected. Your friends did not know where you were. I spent months looking for you, months trying to understand what I had done wrong. And all this time you thought I chose my family over you, when the truth is, I lost my family because of you, because I could not stop loving you, because I refused to move on the way my mother wanted me to. The machines beeped steadily in the silence that followed. Marquita stared at Jalen with an expression that was impossible to read. 8 years of certainty crumbling in the face of a truth she had never considered. You never married anyone, she finally said. No, you never had other children. How could I? Every woman I met, I compared to you. Every future I imagined felt hollow because you were not in it. Marquita closed her eyes. The tears continued to fall, but silently now. I was so sure, she whispered. I was so sure I knew what you would choose. You knew what you feared, Jalen replied gently, and you let that fear make the choice for you, for both of us, for our children. Before Marquita could respond, her body betrayed her. A coughing fit erupted, violent and wet, the kind that sounded like something tearing loose inside her chest. The monitors screamed. The door burst open. She is coding, someone shouted. Get the crash cart. Jalen was pushed into the hallway, the twins immediately appearing at his side, their faces white with terror. What is happening? Devin grabbed Jalen's hand. What are they doing to her? They are helping her, Jalen said, though he was not sure he believed it. They are going to help her. Is she going to die? Destiny's voice was barely audible. Is our mama going to die? Jalen crouched down and pulled both children into his arms. They came willingly, desperately, two small bodies shaking with fear against a man they had known for less than an hour but who was already the only hope they had left. No, he said, and it was not a prediction. It was a promise. It was a vow. Your mother is not going to die, because I am here now, and I'm going to make sure she gets everything she needs. He pulled out his phone, his hands steadier now that he had a mission. The first call was to Dr. Harrison Webb, head of pulmonology at Johns Hopkins and a man who owed Jalen several substantial favors. I need you on a plane to Denver within the hour. Money is no object. Clear your schedule. The second call was to his assistant. Charter an air ambulance, the best available. I want it ready to transport a critical patient to our medical facility in Aspen by tonight. The third call was to his lawyers. I am going to need emergency guardianship papers drawn up. 2 minor children. Yes, I know it is unprecedented. Make it happen. Call after call. Demand after demand. The machinery of extreme wealth mobilizing in ways most people never see. Money could not buy everything, Jalen had learned over the years. It could not buy back the 8 years he had lost. It could not undo the misunderstanding that had stolen his family from him. It could not erase the suffering Marquita and the children had endured. But it could buy time. And right now, time was the only currency that mattered. I need to pause here and speak directly to you again. We have reached the moment where everything changes, where a billionaire stops being a distant figure in expensive suits and starts being a father, where a dying woman has to decide whether the truth she just learned is worth fighting to live for, where 2 children who have spent their entire lives learning to survive might finally get the chance to simply live. If this story is hitting you somewhere deep, if you are thinking about your own family, your own second chances, your own moments where everything could have gone differently, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, have you ever discovered a truth that rewrote everything you thought you knew about someone? Have you ever been Marquita, running from something you misunderstood? Have you ever been Jalen, searching for someone who disappeared without explanation? Your stories matter. This community we are building at Mr. Dalton's Story House, it is not just about watching videos. It is about connecting. It is about knowing that we are not alone in our complicated, messy, beautiful lives. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it is never too late. That lost connections can be found. That love, real love, does not die just because time passes. Now let me tell you what happened when Marquita finally woke up. 3 weeks later, the room was wrong. That was Marquita's first thought when consciousness slowly returned. The walls were warm cream instead of institutional white. The bed beneath her was softer than anything she had slept on in years, and the light filtering through the windows fell on mountains. Actual mountains, snow-capped and majestic and completely impossible. Where am I? Her voice was stronger than it had been in months. That was the second thing she noticed. She could breathe without drowning. She could speak without coughing. Whatever had been killing her was no longer winning. The Montgomery Family Medical Center in Aspen. She turned her head and found Jalen sitting in a chair beside her bed. He looked terrible. Unshaven, rumpled clothes, dark circles under his eyes like he had not slept in days. He had never looked better. "You built a hospital wing," Marquita said slowly. 3 years ago, after my father's lung cancer scare, best pulmonary rehabilitation program in the country. Jalen's voice was rough with exhaustion. "I flew in specialists from 4 different countries. You have been sedated for most of the past 3 weeks while they stabilized you." The children, in school, a very good school here in Aspen. They are being tutored to catch up on the education they missed. They are safe. They are healthy. They ask about you every single day. Marquita closed her eyes, processing a reality she had never allowed herself to imagine. "I am not taking charity," she said. "It is not charity." Jalen leaned forward. "It is a father taking care of the mother of his children. It is me doing what I should have been doing for the past 7 years if you had let me. If I had let you." Marquita's eyes flashed with a ghost of her old fire. "You make it sound like I kept them from you out of spite. I am not saying that. I am saying we both made choices based on incomplete information, and those choices cost us 8 years. But we are here now. You are alive. They are safe. That has to count for something." "It counts for something," Marquita admitted quietly, "but it does not fix everything. I know. I am not asking you to forgive me overnight. I am not asking you to forget the years of struggle or pretend they did not happen. I am just asking for the chance to be present now, to be their father, to help in whatever way you will allow." Marquita studied his face for a long moment, looking for the cracks, looking for the angle, looking for the catch that always came when something seemed too good to be true. She found nothing but exhaustion and hope, and something that looked terrifyingly like love. "Your mother," she finally said. "What does she think about all this?" "My mother can go to hell." The words were so unexpected that Marquita actually laughed. A weak, rusty sound, but genuine. "She threw 3 separate tantrums," Jalen continued, a grim smile on his face. "Each one more theatrical than the last. Finally, I told her that she could accept you and the twins, or she could accept never seeing me again. Those were her only options. And she chose her pride. For now," Jalen shrugged. "I expect she will come around eventually, when she realizes I am serious. But honestly, Marquita, I do not care what she thinks. I stopped caring about her approval the morning I woke up and you were gone. That was 8 years ago. Yes, it was. The weight of those years settled between them. Not hostile, just present. A reminder of everything lost and everything that might still be found. I want to see them," Marquita said. "The twins. I need to see them. Tonight. After school. They have been counting the minutes until you woke up." Jalen paused. "They call me Dad now." Marquita's eyes filled with tears. "Good. That is good. They should. You are not angry." "I spent 7 years being angry," Marquita replied softly. "At you. At your family. At the world. At myself. And all it did was make everything harder. I am tired of being angry, Jalen. I am tired of surviving. I want to actually live, then live. Stay here. Get strong. Let me help. Not because you need my money, but because our children deserve to have both parents present. Because you deserve to finish what you started. What I started. Law school." Jalen's voice was gentle. "You were 3 semesters away from becoming a civil rights attorney. You were going to change the world. I was going to try. You still can. If you want it, whatever program you choose, whatever support you need, it is yours. You cannot just buy me a career. I am not buying you anything. I am removing obstacles. There is a difference. Marquita was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, the mountains caught the afternoon light, turning pink and gold with the approaching sunset. I used to dream about this, she admitted finally. In the shelters, on the streets, when things were worst, I used to imagine what it would be like if you found us, if you knew about them, if you came. What happened in the dreams? You always left. Eventually, when it got hard, when the novelty wore off, you always chose the easier path. Jalen reached for her hand. His grip was warm and solid and showed no signs of letting go. I am not leaving, he said. Not tomorrow. Not when it gets hard. Not ever. I already lost 8 years. I am not losing another day. We are finally here, the moment where broken things start becoming whole, where two people who hurt each other through distance and silence begin the slow, difficult work of building something new. If you believe in second chances, if you believe that people can change, if you believe that love can survive even when we do our best to destroy it, I need you to hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Mr. Dalton's Story House and turn on notifications, because the end of this story is coming, and I promise you, it is everything you have been hoping for. Now let me tell you how this family found their way home. The months that followed were not easy. Recovery never is. Marquita had setbacks. Nights when the coughing returned and the fear crept back in. Days when she looked at Jalen and saw the ghost of the man who had broken her heart, no matter how hard she tried to see only the man he had become. But she stayed, and Jalen showed up every single day, for homework help and doctor appointments and bedtime stories, for the small moments that looked like nothing and meant everything. Devin's mathematical genius blossomed with proper education. His tutors were astonished by his ability to grasp concepts years beyond his age. He talked about being an engineer, maybe an architect, someone who built things that lasted. Destiny's artistic soul flourished with real supplies and proper instruction. Her dragons evolved from simple sketches to complex, beautiful creatures with personalities and backstories. She filled the walls of their Aspen home with color and imagination. Their home, that was what it became. Not just Jalen's house or a temporary arrangement. A home where 4 people learned to be a family. 1 year after Marquita woke up in that hospital room, she stood in a courtroom in Denver and won her first major case. A class action lawsuit against a corporation that had systematically discriminated against homeless families in housing applications. The same kind of discrimination she had faced. The same wall she had beaten her head against for years while trying to find stable housing for her children. And she had torn those walls down. In the gallery, Jalen watched with tears streaming down his face. No shame, no embarrassment, just overwhelming pride in the woman he had never stopped loving. Devin and Destiny sat beside him, 9 years old now, and carrying themselves with the quiet confidence of children who knew they were wanted. Mama was magnificent, Destiny announced loudly enough for the whole courtroom to hear. She made the bad guys cry. They were not bad guys, Devin corrected in his precise way. They were inadequately regulated corporate entities with insufficient ethical oversight. You sound like Dad, Destiny complained. Thank you, Devin replied. That evening, after the celebration dinner and the congratulatory phone calls and the children finally asleep in their beds, Marquita and Jalen stood on the balcony of their Denver home watching the city lights flicker against the darkness. Do you ever wonder, Marquita said softly, what would have happened if the twins had not found that wallet? Every day, Jalen admitted, and every day I thank whatever force in the universe made me drop it in that specific gutter at that specific time. I was dying. The doctors told me later. Without intervention, I had days, maybe hours. I know. 2 7-year-olds saved my life because they saw a photograph and recognized their father, because they chose hope over hopelessness. They get that from their mother. Marquita smiled. And their stubbornness from their father. Jalen pulled her closer, his arm warm and solid around her shoulders. They had rebuilt something beautiful from the wreckage of the past, not by pretending the pain had not happened, but by choosing each day to move forward together. I love you, he said. The words he had been saying every day for a year now. The words he would keep saying for however many years they had left. I love you too, Marquita replied. Still. Again. Forever. Inside the house, 9-year-old Devin muttered something about load-bearing walls in his sleep. Destiny clutched a stuffed purple dragon and dreamed of kingdoms where everyone had homes and families and enough to eat. Their parents would check on them soon. would smooth covers and whisper goodnights and marvel at the miracle of their existence. But for now, they simply stood together, watching a city that had nearly broken them shimmer with possibility. The ending was not really an ending at all. It was a beginning. Messy and imperfect and absolutely real. The kind of beginning that only comes after you have survived the unthinkable and discovered that the worst moments of your life can become the foundation for something beautiful. If you are willing to build, if you are willing to trust, if you are willing to choose hope over fear and love over loneliness, if you are willing to answer the phone when your children call, that is the story of how a lost wallet became a found family, how a billionaire learned that his empire meant nothing without people to share it with, how a woman who had given up on everything except her children found the strength to live again, how two 7-year-old twins taught all of us that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask a stranger for help. I told you at the beginning that this story would change you. I hope it has. I hope you are sitting there right now thinking about the people you love, the words you have left unsaid, the second chances you might still have time to take, because that is what Mr. Dalton's Story House is about. Not just entertainment, not just passing time, but stories that reach into your chest and grab hold of something real. Stories that make you want to be better, love harder, fight longer. If this story meant something to you, I need you to do 3 things. First, hit that like button. It costs you nothing, but it tells the algorithm that this story matters, that these messages about love and redemption and family deserve to reach more people. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is just one story. I have hundreds more. Stories about ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. Stories about the moments that define us. Stories about what it really means to be human. Third, share this video. Send it to your mother. Send it to your father. Send it to anyone who needs to be reminded that it is never too late, that lost connections can be found, that the wallet you drop in the gutter today might be the miracle someone else has been praying for. Thank you for watching. Thank you for feeling. Thank you for being part of this family we are building together.